Hey guys, Rich from Richmond Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Bugle. After a week off, me and Quinn are back and ready to go. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir?
Damn good.
Quinn, your PC turned up today, didn't it? Again.
It did. Yeah, it's very pretty.
Very pretty. It's got flashy lights. The main thing you need on a PC. Light up
Yeah.
RGB RAM, which is the
I mean,
most.
it's like the whole orc thing from 40k where they believe like different colors do different things, right? I
That's
assume you know what
That's
this is.
exactly what it is. Yes, Quinn.
Red ones go faster, so if it lights up red, it runs faster, equals
Yep.
more good.
That's what it means. Quinn, we missed last week's Weekly Bugle. I wasn't particularly well, and then your PC broke, so we weren't in a great spot anyway. But we didn't really miss much in the form of MCP news, did we? We got some tactics cards that we'd already seen officially revealed from AMG, and not much.
Don't mind if I cut in.
Yeah,
what a great card.
And not much more, but we've got a little bit more to go through this week. So, Quinn, let's jump straight in and take a look at Shadowland Daredevil, aka Matt Murdock's card. 6 stamina, medium move, 2 height, 4 threat. So he's the same threat as the existing Daredevil. 4-3-3 on his defensive stats. So slightly above the curve overall for health and defensive stats when you take in the extra 1 stamina on the injured side of his card. But let's have a quick look at what he's got in form of attacks. So we've got Coordinated Strike, range 2, 5 strength, 0 cost, power equal to the damage dealt. But after this attack is resolved, if there is not an allied hand ninjas character in play, place it within range 1 of this character with an activated token. It is part of your squad. So we saw on the Nick Fury card, we were bringing in the Grunts using a superpower, and it was a May. We're bringing them in with an attack here, and it's a have to.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a reason or a time where you wouldn't want to, where that would be to your detriment.
If you're like against the Black Order.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I'd still think that you would probably want that, as we'll see, combination. So
yeah, I think actually speaking of that combination, we should probably take a quick look at the ninja card just so this attack makes more sense.
it does, yeah, because this is almost a flurry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Off the back of that. So we'll see that we won't go through the full card for the moment, but the ninjas have got a innate ability called Ninja Ambush. When this character is placed onto the battlefield as a result of coordinated strike or ancient throwing blades. Now, we know that that's not an attack on Daredevil's card, so that's going to be the name of one of Elektra's attacks. Maybe her builder, maybe her spender. We'll have to see. It may immediately make an attack. So it's a little bit like Nick's setup, isn't it? Where he does his attack, and then even if they've activated already, they get to do that sort of follow-up attack. So a bit of a flurry. This is a range 2 attack versus the range 3 on the shield agents. Strength 4 exactly the same, but this does have a trigger on there. A double wild is going to give or dish out the bleed condition. So hopefully that puts a little bit more context around the coordinated strike. Let's jump into the bat and snare then, Quinn. So range 4, strength 4, obviously 0 cost, but this isn't a builder. This doesn't generate any power at all. But this attack ignores line of sight, and the defending character cannot benefit from cover. It also has pursuit, so if or before damage is dealt, this character may advance short towards the target character. So I gather the thought process here, Quinn, is that rather than using a move action to get up towards your opponent to be within range to do your strike to bring out your ninjas, you get to do your bat and snare, move up, and then make your coordinated strike to bring in your ninjas, and then they get to do the follow-up attack is probably how you would play this more often than not, isn't it?
This card is pretty much Blades of Ica from Angela, right? It's got the
Yes.
pursuit trigger. It's even got the same name. This attack is more reliable because you don't need a hit to trigger the pursuit. It just happens. And, it's just one of those attacks that's a nice way to effectively not have to waste a move action, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and I think again we spoke about Quinn, haven't we, in our Ultimate Guide videos? We both play quite attrition style.
Yeah.
Having to use an action, the precious resource that is an action, on something as futile as moving, always pains me a little bit. So if I can make an attack and get a move off the back end of it, I'm usually happy with that. The keyword here, twin. The keyword here, Quinn, is obviously to ward. So you can't do this attack and then use it to move somewhere else. To go pick up an objective or something like that. Yeah,
I mean, I guess
exactly that.
If there was an enemy behind you and you want to stay away from whatever's in front of you, you can attack the person behind you and run away.
Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I like that. I like that combination of the two so far. So already looking better than the ballerina. Demon's Devastation is his, I would say, big spender, Quinn, but 3 power. And as we'll see in his card, at least on his flip side, he doesn't have a lot to spend power on. So
yeah, this Daredevil is definitely here to lay the smack down.
So Demon's Devastation then, Quinn. It's Rage 2, 7 strength, 3 power. If an allied hand ninja's character is within Rage 2 of the target character, add 2 dice to the attack roll. My word. 9 dice for 3 power. I need to go and look at other builders. I don't know if there's a builder that gives as many dice as that for the same amount of power. It seems a little bit crazy.
The closest I can think of is Thanos' Cosmic Blast, which gets you to 8 for 3 power.
Gets you to 8 for 3, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty damn good. It's got a trigger on there as well, which with 9 dice you are more than likely to hit. But on a wild, you get the keyword Vanish, and this is something I don't believe a keyword we've seen before, Quinn, is it? But after this attack is resolved, place this character within Rage 2. Now, we've had placements before off the back end of attacks, but typically you're measuring the placement off the target character, not off yourself.
Yeah.
And this is this is off, you're placing it within Rage 2 of yourself, which for me, I think is better in most situations, but there's going to be the odd 1 or 2 times where you would just really prefer to be able to sort of bunny hop over your opponent and get further up the board towards something. But I really like this. I think it's really nice. We'll go down the rest of the card because he is the leader or the second leader of criminal syndicates. We've got the leadership ability Shadow War. So when an allied character attacks an enemy character holding or contesting an objective, it may reroll one of its attack dice. This leadership ability can reroll failure results. Really, really nice. I'm already thinking in my head, Nebula in Criminal Syndicate is all of a sudden just, she gets full rerolls on all of her attacks and then an extra reroll, and you can manipulate failures as well. And I'm sure that
it is, however, important to note that the manipulation of failures is only for this singular reroll granted by the leadership.
It is, yes, absolutely.
It's not like Web Warriors where the other part of the leadership just allows you to modify skills.
No. So if a character has, let's take a Baron Zemo for example, probably a really good example, Quinn, yeah. Or even a Nebula next to a Baron Zemo, right? She'll be able to reroll, or she'll be able to manipulate and reroll failures on this one, so she could re-roll that one failure. But if she then uses the Zemo re-roll and then uses her own re-rolls, she's not going to be able to manipulate them as part of that. So
if you've got a failure in there and you re-roll it into, let's say, a blank, that die is now a blank for you to be able to then manipulate it with re-rolls from Nebula's assassin ability and also Zemo's strategic genius.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously going to depend differently depending on how the dice have been rolled and things. But I would imagine if there's a failure in there and you have other rerolls, you're going to want to re-roll that failure first using the leadership ability. I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, Quinn, because off the top of my head, I can't think of an example. Obviously, excluding characters who count failures. Obviously, we're not including them in here, but I can't think of an example where you wouldn't do that first.
There might be situations where you've done more damage than you actually expected to, and you actually want to do less because maybe like killing that character actually gives your opponent priority or something like that. You know,
maybe there's something. Maybe they're holding a cube or something like that, so you want to leave them on 1, maybe. So yeah, potentially that. But I mean, you know, in that case. I suppose you would still use your rerolls to then try and reduce the damage that you do. So I really like that. I saw some comments on Facebook, Quinn, about this leadership saying it was lazy, and I was quite surprised at that. I think we haven't had a leadership ability from a attack perspective that is from an attack perspective that is objective focus. I mean, this type of thing you see on assassins, you don't really see on, or we haven't really seen on leadership abilities in the past. And I might be wrong, but I can't think of anything that, you know, obviously the opposite to this is the criminal syndicate. You count as 2 when you're contesting. So these guys are still very much in the vein of, you know, they're a crisis play list. But I think, you know, these guys, assassins all the way through. And I really like that. I think it's very, very, very thematic. The hand, or the criminal syndicate in this instance, but the hand, you have something they want and they're coming to get it. Like, I don't think it's lazy at all. I found it to be really thematic. I don't know your thoughts on it.
The only like thing with this leadership is it makes Cable really sad.
It does make Cable really sad because Cable can only re-roll 1 attack per turn. He can, you know, if it's set up correctly, and yes, I get that there is the stipulation of that they have to be holding or contesting an objective, but
like if you think through like every game you've ever played,
you target the people that are holding the objectives.
How many times have you actually attacked someone that hasn't either been holding an objective or standing on an objective? Because typically, the characters doing either of those 2 things are your priority targets because they're getting VPs for your opponent.
Yeah, exactly that. So it makes Cable sadder. So Quinn, let's move on to his 3 innate abilities then. And first of all, we've got Radar Sense. When defending against physical or energy attacks, this character adds blanks into its defense roll to its total successes. So I always like this one because it's not only good to add blanks, that's always really nice, but it also negates things like Pierce. So anytime you've got a Pierce in there, and a video that I'm working on, probably see at some point next week, is all around the maths around dice. This is real good. Adding blanks is really, really nice. So
especially when you've got 4 physical defense.
Yes, 4 physical is
this really, iteration really of Daredevil is tankier than Black Panther.
Yes.
Not on the front side, but on the flip side, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Adding to that difficulty to kill Quinn, he also has stealth. So you've got to be within range 3 to target him with attacks. And then rounding it out is Wall Crawler. Spoiler alert, he is in Web Warriors. No, I don't think he's going to be in Web Warriors. But yeah, I mean, Criminal Syndicate are never they're not an affiliation I've played too much of, Quinn. And it is purely because their play style is very, very different to my own. And the way that I enjoy playing the game. They are a very, very, as you know, they're a very control-focused list, aren't they, in terms of objective play and that kind of thing. I think this Daredevil is going to bring, even before we get onto the other side of his card, a stark different play style to what we've seen previously. And I think they've already got some good characters in their affiliation who are really going to be able to make the most out of
good
his
old Eric Killmonger.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, Killmonger is you get a couple of tokens on him, and those rerolls start stacking up, and you may be throwing a Zemo in there for good measure as well, and all of a sudden they're real killer.
The thing I really like with this Daredevil, and once again, I know we haven't covered his flip side, but I like the fact that he would still be good under Kingpin.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he's real tanky.
I'm going to throw it out there. I'm not going to say yet. We'll wait. Let's go look at his other side as well. So, injured side, there are quite a few changes actually that I appreciate. I get, Quinn, that it's harder to learn characters when they have changes on the front and back, but you name me a superhero or a supervillain that once they've been knocked down and they get back up, something doesn't change in them, right? They come back.
There's almost always like a change in psyche, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just sort of like, right, this is serious.
Exactly that. We're doubling down. I can do this all day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, whilst I get that they may not be able to do it for every character, I appreciate it when they do. So what are the changes? Well, first change, he goes from 6 stamina to 7. I always like it the other way around. But
yeah, especially if you're under Kingpin, that's definitely something to call out. But equally, with some of the other changes that happen on this side of the card, I definitely like having the extra bit of stamina because he does lose a bit of defensive potency, right?
He does. Against physical attacks, as we'll see, because whilst his overall stat number of 10 for defense has remained the same, it is distributed slightly differently, isn't it? So it's gone from 4-3-3 to a 3-3-4. So the 4 moving from the physical over to the mystic. It's still okay, but yes, you're absolutely right. He does lose, especially up close and personal against some energy, and I suppose the energy stays the same, but against physical attacks, he's going to be quite a bit more vulnerable. His 2 first attacks, so his builder and then his 0 cost, remain exactly the same. However, there is another big change on his card, and it's twofold. So Demon's Devastation changes from a physical attack to a mystic attack. Have we seen that before, Quinn? Because I don't think we have. And let us know down in the comments if you can think of one, but I can't
think. My brain. I feel like there is one, but I can't name it, and that annoys me.
So it remains exactly the same in terms of stats, range, strength, and everything else, and cost, but it does lose the vanish on a wild, doesn't it, Quinn? So it does lose that trigger on there. His leadership,
might be a little something to make up for that later on.
There may be. Shadow War remains exactly the same, which is leadership, and he does have a superpower to spend some power on this time. So he's got an active superpower called There Is Only the Beast. So the next time the Demon's Devastation attack is used in this activation, it becomes Area 2. Now, the maths are really simple and easy to work on this one, guys. If you have more than one person in range and you have the power for it, it is more cost effective and more action effective to pay for the superpower. If you're above 2 targets, so 3 or more, it is infinitely better in terms of what you're going to get for it. So,
and I think there is something we should call out in the wording of the article here, which is almost certainly incorrect, but I do want to highlight it. In the actual text of the article, they say that the superpower costs 2.
Typically,
I would
I
imagine
believe
that
the
3 would be
cards.
more accurate cost.
Yeah, typically I believe the card over the powers. If it is 2, then it's really, really good. The fact that you get to do the same attack twice, only using 1 activation, is really nice for double the power. Because yes, some people might go, well, it's twice the cost, so it's just the same. It's not the same. If you want to do 2 of them, you have to use 2 actions, whereas you can effectively do 4 of them. Oh no, you couldn't do 4 of them because you never have enough power. But if it was 2, you could. But it's you can then do something else off the back end of it. So really nice, really really nice. And remember, guys, that leadership ability is each attack. So on his area 2 damage, each individual attack, if somebody's contesting or holding, you're going to be able to get the reroll for each of those individual attacks off the back of the area 2. So I'm not a fan of area attacks, Quinn. As a general rule of thumb, I find that they are underwhelming. But this is amazing. Having the option to do either is really good.
I feel like AMG might have figured out by now that the area attacks that they have put in the game have maybe been a bit, lackluster, right?
You know how we said that Daredevil's leadership ability makes Cable sad? I actually think Demon's Devastation makes him sad as well, because he would love this.
Oh yeah, he's got a Mystic Area attack, doesn't he? I forgot that.
He would really, really like this. But yeah, there we are. And then everything else, guys, remains the same. So radar sense, stealth, and wall crawler.
Very quickly, and this will tie into what we're about to go on, which is the ninjas. Just a little rules thing. So obviously, if you're doing Demon's Devastation, you want the ninjas there, right? Because you want the 2 extra dice on everyone.
You do, yes.
So the way area attacks are worded is that you do all of the attacks from them first, then do the damage to the allied characters within range. Which means you will get the full benefit of the ninjas before they die.
Well, it's only 1 damage, isn't it?
I'm thinking if you do it twice.
Oh, okay, if you're doing it twice, yes. Yes.
Which you can only actually do under Cabal, but still.
Yeah. Actually, I don't mind him in Cabal either. Anyway, let's go on to this. So, hand ninjas. 2 stamina, medium move, size 2, 1/1/2. So if I remember rightly, Quinn, the shield grunts were 1/1/1. These guys are getting 2 on their mystic defense. So interesting. As you've already got into, we've got ninja weapons, range 2, 4 strength, obviously 0 cost. These guys don't generate any power. Bleed on a double wild, which these guys are a character. So if they're attacking somebody who is holding an objective, they're going to get those rerolls as well, which is nice. So it still doesn't make a double wild or 4 dice easy to get, but you're increasing your percentages of doing it. Ninja Vanish, Quinn. Active superpower, obviously costs 0. Action, so it's going to use one of their actions up. Move 1 asset or civilian token being held by this character to another allied character within range 3. The allied character is now holding that token. A character cannot hold any more, usual blurb along the back end of it, but then this character is KO'd.
But this is sort of like the second part of Kingpin's leadership, right?
It is, yes. Yeah, it is.
Which, they normally wouldn't be able to get access from because they don't have power to pay for it, right?
This is true.
There are some very interesting things you can do with this, though, aren't there, Rich?
The combinations are that you, because of how you bring these back, just makes it so much easier for Daredevil to manipulate them. And the fact that, again, I want to put a caveat on this, Quinn, because we still don't know the rules around grunts. We don't know when they're deployed. Are they deployed during the first deployment phase, or does Daredevil have to walk up and punch someone before he's going to be able to do it? And that will be a real key thing on this.
More and more I am leaning towards the idea that they don't deploy.
I actually think the opposite. I think they're going to deploy, and I think you're just going to deploy them range 3 as normal. Is my thought on it. I think they're
so good.
I think they're going to be there from the beginning, but that's just my my take on it. But yeah, the fact that they can, they can range 3, okay, is Toad is range 2. Mission objective, I want to say, is range 2 as well, Quinn.
Kingpin's leadership, I think, is still 3.
It could be 3, yeah. But it's really nice. And this is another one of the reasons why it works really well with Kingpin's leadership as well, doesn't it? Because you've got all sorts of things that you can do with it now as well. So
you basically get to play hot potato, right? And
yeah. You've seen the Rogue One scene, Quinn, haven't you? Where Darth Vader starts walking down, and they're just passing that on. That's basically what you're going to be able to do with it. Ninja Ambush, Quinn, we've already gone through. We don't need to do that one again. This one is really interesting, especially in combination with Ninja Vanish. But we've got the Hand. This character cannot contest secure objective tokens. This character does not have to pay power when interacting with civilian or asset tokens. It's opening up some very niche and very situational plays, but things like Deadly Legacy Virus, where you're paying more power every time you pick one up, right? So if you're holding one, it costs you 1. The second one costs 2. The third one costs 3. So very few people can pick up all 3 in a turn. Obviously they can do, but that amount of power is quite hard. These guys can. And then they can die, and then they can just come straight back.
So also, there's sort of 2 interesting interactions that I've just sort of figured out with these guys regarding objectives.
Okay.
The first one is that they can't secure or they can't contest secure objectives, right?
Yes. Exactly that. Yeah.
This means that they can, however, stand on the researcher and count.
Yes, because that's not a secure. That's an asset, I believe, isn't it? Yeah.
Unless there is some sort of like clause in the grunt rules that stops them from.
They may do it. Yeah, they may put that in place. Yeah.
The other thing is that these guys can't go digging for Kree cores, scrolls, or for senators because each of the points on those 3 things, once you find the thing, it is then, an asset or a civilian. But before you do, they are targets of opportunity that you interact with, and they are not allowed to do that free.
Oh, really interesting. So yeah, because it's got the same wording on them, hasn't it, as the flip objectives? Because yeah, you're going and checking out the safe house, you're going and searching in the rubble, but the rubble and the safe house, as you say, are the target of opportunity. What's in there is the asset
or the civilian or the asset.
Oh, very interesting. So, almost flips it on its head a little bit, right? CS have been known in the past to want to choose the secures, right? They like making sure that they don't have those flip objectives. It's not always the case, but typically. Are we going to see then in a Daredevil criminal syndicate that the extracts are more important because you want to make sure that your ninjas can pick up whatever it is that's out there? So your Kree cores and your scrolls are not really something you want to go for.
I think that's an interesting one, and also sort of plays into where I think Daredevil will eventually sit with regard to Syndicate as a faction. In the now with Shadowlands Daredevil and Kingpin, you sort of have both bases covered, right?
Yeah.
Because Kingpin doesn't like flip secures because half his leadership is useless. Daredevil doesn't mind those, and also typically on things like Gamma, for example, Kingpin's going to be better as your leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they both complement each other very nicely.
It's going to be really interesting, but I could also see on Gamma, if you end up with a Gamma and a Cubes or a Gamma and a Spider infected or something like that, that actually taking Daredevil along with you, because sending out your disposable, unlimited amount of ninjas to the sides to maybe not get back under the shelter turn one, but taking a damage, but then being able to come back and then just hand off the, whatever it's going to be to Daredevil, or indeed to anyone else. That's just going back. It's not Daredevil. It can go to anyone, can't it?
If they do get deployed on the board, and this is the main reason why I think they won't, they are exceptionally powerful on, like as you said, spider-infected cubes and also hammers in particular. Because if you don't have a 65mm base character, you always have to move to get your home hammer, right?
Yeah, you do.
If these guys deploy, they do a single move action onto the hammer and pick it up. Their second action is to kill themselves and give it to someone within range 3, which is stupid good.
Probably Daredevil, because I'm not going to lie, Daredevil I don't think he'll mind having a hammer on him, Quinn, if I'm being brutally honest.
I mean, also, if they are, on the table from a previous round, what we know of Grunts is that they activate on the same turn as their parent character, but they go before the parent character.
They go beforehand, yes. Yeah, we do know that for certain.
Are either holding a hammer or standing next to a hammer. They get the hammer on them. They do an attack, so they're 5 dice, probably with a reroll under Daredevil's leadership, right?
I've just realised what you're going to say.
They then, as their second action, use Ninja Vanish to kill themselves and give the hammer to Daredevil. Daredevil then goes, punches someone for 6 dice, summons the ninjas, they do a 4 dice attack, and then Daredevil potentially does,
I mean, off a 6 dice
demon.
I was going to say, off a 6 dice builder, 3 power's not unrealistic, right? Yeah.
I mean, if again, Daredevil's already flipped, he's gaining more power from that builder. He's then potentially doing a 10 dice Mystic Area attack. That seems pretty good.
It's going to be really interesting. The combinations, are going to be really, really interesting. I think as a player not playing Grunts, we're going to have a lot more to think about on the board when we're coming up against them, because the target we choose is going to be really, really important. There may be some times where you want to take out the Grunts, but there may be other times where you just want to leave them, because by killing them, you're letting Daredevil then make that flurry attack off the back end of his coordinated strike. So it's going to be really, really interesting. I love the sort of yin and yang between Shield and his Grunts, or should I say Nick Fury and his Grunts, and then Shadowland Daredevil and his Grunts. Obviously opposing in terms of what they're doing and what they're bringing to the game. But I'm really looking forward to getting hold of the rules and actually having some proper games with these guys. And I think when it's going to take 2 or 3 games to really bed in with them and really start to understand the potential of them.
I can't wait for proper table time with these 2 latest characters that have been spoiled. I mean, Fury brings an entirely new affiliation, which is huge, and 10 tactics cards that they could do anything. Right?
Yeah. Oh God, I'd completely forgot about the 10 tactics cards from Nick Fury.
And then you've got Daredevil coming in, who's breathing new life into Syndicate, who have already had a massive power boost by Bullseye becoming a 2 threat.
I'm just thinking about this, Quinn, now, and CS are looking really good. Looking really good. And again, I always say this with this game, though, Quinn, is that you're always going to get an affiliation that's at the top, but they can always be beaten by the affiliation at the bottom. That's the one thing I love about this game. Quinn, we've got a few other things to go through, because Shadowland Daredevil was not the only thing that we had released this week. So, Quinn, let's jump into the FAQ. And I think this is an interesting one, because we were told on stream by, I think it was Shik or Pagani, that this term non-grunt character, where we're going to see being introduced into leaderships, into superpowers, into some tactics cards as well. And we've seen the first iteration of it, but we think it's more what's happened with the rest of the card that's made them put this in there, basically. But let's go through and take a look. So, Captain America, this is CP38 Sam Wilson. So his stat card, replace the text of all new, all different leadership ability with the following text. When this character or another allied non-grunt character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, choose another non-dazed allied character. After the effect is resolved, the chosen character removes 1 damage, removes 1 special condition, and may advance short. A character can be affected by this leadership ability only once. So the key thing there, Quinn, is that it's an enemy effect.
Yeah, which means you can't kill your own dudes and get moves.
Yeah, and I think because obviously there's less and less ways now to be able to murder your own people.
Obviously,
but
the old thing used to be all you got, right?
Yeah,
but now this sort of stops things like Bob's excessive violence.
Violence, Gamma Shelter, rolling a skull on whichever the flip objective. So any sort of neutral damage from Crisis, that sort of thing.
Beaming your own dudes.
Throwing terrain into your own dudes, because whilst you can't target them with an attack, you don't target using throw, so you can launch some, or you could have launched some terrain into your character before. Is this the nerf that we all wanted for Sam Spam? No, because those examples that we used are niche and unique, but it does just take one extra little thing away from them. But we've seen that non-grunt, so we now know, it's the first leadership we've seen that's been changed that's going to say non-grunt. We think, or in fact, I think we've had confirmed, haven't we, that Kingpin is going to be another one where his card's going to change, but we've not seen those yet. We don't have any of the new tactics cards or anything like that as well. So it's going to be really interesting. I think we already know, Quinn, and I want to say this with some certainty, so keep me honest here. We already know that any allied character using a tactics card, that a grunt cannot be either the target of that tactics card, or obviously they can't play the tactics card because they're not going to have any power. What we don't know yet, do we, is if it's me doing it to you, right? Can I put a bit of rivals on your grunts?
Can you just rivals my like Daredevil ninjas?
Yeah, which probably isn't the best idea, seeing as you can just go
I'll just kill them and give off an asset.
Is the bit of rival suck and an asset, so you just pass it on to somebody else?
The answer is definitely no.
It's definitely
you can
no.
give away a chimichanga.
You can give away a chimichanga. Quinn, good news for Asgard. All of their problems are solved. I don't know if you've seen.
Praise be.
Asgard is a topic of conversation we spoke about last week in what we will now know, what will be known moving forward as like the unreleased series of Weekly Bugles that we make. Yeah, the lost episodes. That's the one. Use the Star Wars equivalent there. We spoke about Asgard last week. We spoke about all the problems with them. We spoke about how their leader at the moment is in a really bad spot. He needs some help, and he's got it. They can now take Doom Prophecy, and it is not restricted.
Woo!
Praise be to Odin. I nearly said to the Lord then, but praise be to Odin feels more appropriate.
Definitely more apt.
Look, are there going to be more Asgard releases this year? I would put not an insignificant amount of money saying yes. Will some of those characters lend themselves to play Doom Prophecy? Maybe not. We don't know. But I think thematically the card being theirs makes sense, right? They're going to get more releases. They're going to be better off. The fact that it might only be in 6 months' time, maybe even sooner, right? If they've done this now, maybe even sooner. But we're going to get something, and the chances are is that it's probably going to be able to use Doom Prophecy. Beta Ray Bill,
Yeah, I mean, like,
Beta Ray Bill, I'm
for all
looking
we
at you.
know, the April releases are just all Asgard
Yeah,
characters.
we don't know, but it feels like they're teeing it up is the way that I would the way that I would put it. So yes, the restricted list has been updated, but the only update on there is the fact that Doom Prophecy has come off the list, so leaving us now with just 5 restricted tactics cards. But if you weren't playing Asgard, you couldn't. Well, you could take it, but you couldn't use it if you weren't playing Asgard. And even if you were playing Asgard, you could take it. You could put it in your squad, but you probably didn't want to use it. Maybe Angela with like some real unique case where you just needed to murder everyone, but still.
I mean, with Angela, you can potentially get like 3 10 dice attacks off, which isn't bad.
Even so.
Yeah.
It's a big it's a big investment.
Taking Angela off the board, not the best.
It's never a good thing, no. Never a good thing. Quinn, let's move on to the bit that I was most looking forward to, which is the affiliation list updates. Who's in, who's out, who's made it, who's not. So we've had quite a few characters released, or I think in the UK will be released in 7 days' time, I want to say. 11th of February is when we're being told.
Oh no, wait, so time travel shenanigans.
Quinn, we pre-record this.
Oh no.
Let's pretend it's live. So it's mainly X-Men on this list, but mainly mutants on this list. So let's go through and take a look, and then we'll sort of say if we think it was good, if it was bad, if we're expected, not expected as we go through them. So first of all, Quinn, Brotherhood of Mutants, okay. We called it. So I'm going to start with the one that we called, which is Rogue, okay? Quinn, be a happy boy. Quinn, be a happy boy.
I'm an even happier boy when we get to the next one.
Yeah,
this one, a surprise.
This one not so much because yes. Now, Rogue in Brotherhood of Mutants is phenomenal.
Because you do a throw turn 1, you then enable her charge immediately. It's very nice.
The one thing that Brotherhood do not have is a good 4 threat. Yes. Sabretooth is not a good 4 threat. I know that we always say, oh, it's impartial, you can play what you want to play. I've played enough Brotherhood. Quinn's played enough Brotherhood. Sabretooth in Brotherhood is not good. There's no synergy. Rogue is phenomenal in Brotherhood. She's just absolutely stonking. Her defenses might not look the best, but that reduction, and if she's undercover of Magneto, all of a sudden negating by 1 and cover, she be a tanky girl. Mutant absorption, Quinn. What a way to just be able to drain your opponent and then do damage if you've got enough off the back end.
Yeah, like there are so many applications for that superpower as well. It's so good.
Yeah. So Rogue, big thumbs up. Quinn, I sent you an image. I'm going to put this image up here now so you guys can see it. And I said, oh, look, all of the mutants are going to kill the Morlocks because that's what it looks like. But look who Gambit's with. And you went, no, it's just to represent his dark past.
Yeah, I thought
there's
it was going
no
to be like a Morlocks thing or like a Marauders thing or like whatever. But no, apparently he's just in Brotherhood now.
There is no way he's going in Brotherhood, but yes. And actually, Quinn, I'm both happy, but it makes me think that there are probably other affiliations that he could have been part of that he now won't be.
Yeah.
Because they've just gone, he was once a bit bad, Brotherhood of Mutants, and I feel like Brotherhood of Mutants is going to be the dumping ground of I suppose Cassandra Nova's not in there, neither is Omega Red, but he's in Brotherhood of Mutants for some reason. And then the last one is Colossus.
Yeah.
Now, actually, on this, Quinn, I want to talk a little bit about the new Ultimate Encounter that we saw around Colossus. Because a lot of people thought it was a Juggernaut one. It is not a Juggernaut one. There was a series of comics or a run of comics where Colossus had is it the Ruby of Sitarak or something like that?
The gem of Sitarak.
The gem
I
of
think
Sitarak,
it was
yeah.
called.
So he basically had the power of the Juggernaut. And you can see it. And the one thing I do like about this, Quinn, is that if you want to find either an alternative sculpt, because there will be some where Colossus is as the Juggernaut, or even convert your Juggernaut and put him there. Sorry, convert your Colossus and put the helmet on and things. It's quite cute. It's quite nice. What does Colossus bring to the Brotherhood?
So I have seen a little bit of discussion about this, and like Brotherhood, like Magneto's leadership does sort of help Colossus, right? Because Colossus struggles with power.
He's got a lot of things he can do with power. Yes, yeah.
Equally, do Brotherhood want that?
My problem is that it is really hard to get on the bench of a Brotherhood list. They have so many really good characters. Okay, first of all, you've got an expensive 6-threat leader in the form of Magneto, because I don't really get the whole Colossus with Mystique thing, because you're not feeding
He
power.
gets to pick up a thing for free.
Yeah, so it's not great. So let's talk about Magneto for a moment. It's hard to get on the bench, let alone get in the squad. Okay, in a Brotherhood list, and he's a 4 threat. What other 4 threats did we include? Well, Vision has been a contender for a long, long time. Rogue is going to get taken over Colossus every day of the week when it comes to a 4-threat character. So, we don't know, right? Quinn, we always talk about this, don't we? How an errata to a card, a new tactics card, something, something else comes out and a character goes from 0 to hero, right? Crossbones went from D tier to B plus A tier in Cabal under Sin, and in Criminal Syndicate as well.
And bam.
So there's nothing to say that this won't happen with Colossus again. But right now, for me, Quinn, Colossus in Brotherhood is a bit meh in terms of
I think Colossus
impact.
in general is a bit meh, isn't he? Like
he's old Steve, which is
he's old Steve, but he's also slower than old Steve.
Yeah.
Because typically I forget that he has a short.
He is short. He is short.
Best.
Defender's got a new member, Magic, which I don't mind. Okay, and I'll tell you the reason I don't mind it is I've always thought Blade in Defenders, it's quite expensive. It's a leader. You're losing some value. She does a similar job to Blade. Obviously not as good, but she's got that mystic builder.
I'm slightly disappointed that she didn't appear in Midnight Sun.
She didn't appear in Midnight Sun. Yeah,
that'd be nice.
I think she can do a good job in there.
I mean, like
it's not going to sort Defenders out.
Get a faction identity. That'd be nice.
Yeah, well, just to say, it's not going to sort Defenders out. They've got bigger problems than one 3-threat Mystic attacker.
Some actual tactics cards that they can use. Maybe a second leader if they're feeling generous.
It would be really good.
Not that Strange is bad. I mean, we all know that I absolutely adore Strange, but yeah,
they need a second leader, absolutely, with some tactics cards. Uncanny X-Men, probably the biggest winner of this. In reality, did we? Sorry, in terms of number of characters, but really,
I feel like Brotherhood definitely won here.
None of these characters did we expect to not be in Uncanny X-Men. Colossus, Gambit, Honey Badger, Magic, Rogue, X-23. I mean,
there was a little bit of discussion around X-23, but that was like cleared up ages ago on streams.
It was. Yeah, it really, really was. So nothing surprising there. Does it make X-Men better? Absolutely.
Yeah.
X-Men with a Honey Badger and an X-23 and a Rogue and a Gambit, and to some extent a Magic as well, is really good. The more time adding talent into an affiliation, having a 2-threat affiliated option now is really, really good. Is it Bullseye Criminal Syndicate good? No. Because as we covered off in our X-Men guide video, neither of these leaders have leadership abilities that trickle down and ultimately affect the way that you're going to play these characters. But X-23, Honey Badger, and Rogue do love murdering things, but yeah, still lacking a bit of identity and a bit of synergy, I'd say, Quinn, in there at the moment. And then rounding it up, Honey Badger X-23 in X-Force, which again I don't think anyone was surprised. I actually think Honey
Shocked
Badger
and appalled.
I actually think Honey Badger in X-23 in X-Force is a bigger impact than them in X-Men, because they do have a leadership ability that trickles down. X-23 already has rerolls herself. Honey Badger is a little incinerate bubble, which can be really, really good. So yeah, I quite like this. I think, that combination of Cable buffing Honey Badger, who then does the bodyguard, can be quite nice as well. So I think that's really, really good. One that I want to pick out, Quinn, that I thought, in fact, two that I want to pick out that I thought at least one of these would have been a dead certain, and that was Gambit in Criminal Syndicate.
Yeah.
Really, really surprised we didn't get that. I mean, he would have been amazing under Daredevil. Getting those rerolls would have been
damage.
Yeah, would have been really, really good. I also thought there was a shout for Juggernaut in Criminal Syndicate as well. However, what we have to remember with affiliations is just because a character at some point in their history of every single comic book, TV show, animated series, graphic novel and movie has been in an affiliation, doesn't mean that they can go in there, because there's a little thing called balance.
Never heard of it.
So I do get, especially under the new Daredevil leadership, I do get why certain characters weren't included in there. But I think it would have been nice to see at least one of them in. I feel like Gambit would have been a less overpowered choice than Juggernaut.
Yeah, it would have been like a nice little 3-threat option, right? Because Syndicate have a fair few 3-threats, but none of them are particularly great.
Yeah, they also have one. They've only really got the sort of one big hitter. And when I say big hitter, Quinn, in my head, it's like a 5+ threat character. But
it's old Big Head himself.
Yeah, the big-headed big hitter in MODOK. So, maybe having 2 5 threats was seen as being too much for them. Maybe that the idea is that they've lower higher number of lower threat characters. I don't know, but they're the only 2 for me, Quinn, that stood out as ones that I thought may or may not have been.
Probably Rogue in A-Force would have been mine.
Well, we do know, don't we, that unless you're Domino, you ain't getting in if you're a mutant. They are on the side of what's the anti-mutant guys called? The ones from Deadpool 2 as well. I can't remember the names of them.
The EDL popped into my head, and that's definitely not right.
It is not the EDL.
They would be anti-mutant.
It is not the EDL. Well, I mean, they, let's leave that with their packet. We covered off in the video. I still think she's good in A-Force, but she's probably lost some of her potency, and it probably means that Captain Marvel edges are out in an A-Force roster. So if you've watched our A-Force roster from earlier this week, you can probably scrap Rogue from that one, and maybe replace her with Gamora. Quinn is maybe another.
We did sort of
nice
highlight
option.
The potential for that being a substitute in the video. So
yeah, we absolutely did. Yeah. And I think, Quinn, that is the news. Well, news, spoilers, everything rounded up for the week. What are your thoughts, Quinn? I was a little bit disappointed. I thought we were going to get Grunt news this week. It makes me now think that we're not going to get it until March.
But for some reason, and this might be completely untrue, but in the back channels of my mind, which is a place nobody ever wants to be in,
it's not.
I seem to remember some sort of statement regarding the full Grunt rules coming out on the 1st of March. And that's probably complete bollocks, but for some reason that's a thing in my head.
On stream, I am almost certain, I need to check my notes, but on stream I'm pretty sure that Schick said we would get the full Grunt rules the first week of the month that they would be released.
Right, so first week of March, yeah.
We're
Okay,
at the
that's
first
probably
week
where
of the
I've
month of
extrapolated that
February,
from.
so yeah, probably March now. We already know that we're getting the Mutants worldwide.
Yep.
Well, in the UK, sorry Australia, but we already know that we're getting them worldwide February the 11th. Obviously,
Sorry, Australia, you'll get Inhumans one day.
Inhumans will be yours. Yes. We already know that worldwide shipping is screwed at the moment, so that's obviously going to change from
Yeah,
place to
it
place.
does seem that, like, after the sort of lull that we've had between releases, I mean, it's a lull for us. It's not a lull for the Americans because they got Ms. Marvel and Hulkbuster.
They just had them in January. Yeah.
We got them, like, I want to say in
November.
October or something. Yeah, November.
Yeah.
So, like, there's been a bit of a lull for us, but I think now because of that lull, we're probably going to be on par again, hopefully.
Hopefully so, because it's horrible. I hate when, one group of people has them, another group of people doesn't have them. Yes, TTS is the great leveler when it comes to everyone can access them at the same time, but, and I've noticed it, Quinn, building my Guardians roster for the Web Warrior Protocols event this weekend. And then we'll talk about that a little bit, Quinn, actually, because it's worthwhile talking about. But I noticed building my roster, because I've been playing on TTS with all the new characters. You then come to real life and go,
I can't have Indomitable.
I don't have Indomitable. Oh, no.
I don't have Superpowered Scoundrels.
I don't have X-23 and Honey Badger. And you go, oh, no. So it does kind of skew you a little bit. So I do get that. So as we mentioned, Web Warrior Protocols, you guys know Aaron. He puts together some great content. Currently, Worlds...
You do all know Aaron.
Yeah, you all know Aaron. Once seen, never forgotten. He's a cracking player. Currently the world's number one player. Currently the world's number one player, according to Longshanks. I mean, the guy's 62 for 2.
I think you'll find he's 70 for 2 now.
70 for 2, right? So played 72 games, won 70.
And I think he's got like 10 non-Longshanks tournament games on top of that as well. So he's like 80 for 2.
He probably has, yeah. He is hosting, I think it's sort of a joint celebration. So it's a channel, it's an invitational that he's running from Web Warrior Protocols, but I believe it's also his birthday as well. So happy birthday to you, Aaron. We will be seeing you on Saturday. But Quinn, we're both going down to board in Brum, aren't we? We're taking our rosters.
I'm actually the defending champion of this event as well.
You are the defending champion. I will add, I was not there for the last one. And Quinn's record against me in person is abysmal. He's never won a game. There we go. The Illuminati Invitationals.
If I use this glasses cloth, you could see it better. There you go.
So, Quinn, we both separately put our rosters together, didn't we? And I'm not gonna go through my roster on here because I've got some joyful things in there to mess around with people. But I am taking my beloved Guardians, who, ever since Quinn beat me, and I'm not playing Brotherhood anymore, I want to say, Quinn, I've played 9 games, I think, of Guardians, won all 9, and never by a VP margin than less than, I want to say, 8. It's a pretty good record. I'll put my record up on the side here, but it's been so much fun.
And actually, just one thing to point out, that match that we played where I won with Brotherhood is now canon because Rogue is affiliated.
It is canon, yes. I can't even play the old, well, actually, I think you'll find, technically, Quinn, I can't even do that one. So, yeah. I love how you use the term canon for the games that we play as well. Like, no, that was an alternative universe. It was Legends. It doesn't count. So I'm taking my Guardians roster. Quinn, you've decided that, for whatever reason, Guardians are going to be your thing now. Even though you tried them out.
Exact reason.
I didn't like them. Is it because, are you like that little child from Essex who saw Man United being really good in the 90s and decided, even though you live miles away, you're going to take them? You saw me, the equivalent of the Man United in the MCP world. You saw all my success and went, I want a bit of that. I'm going to have me some of that success.
Again. No, well, so, as we mentioned, I have a new PC.
You do have a new PC.
I did
yes.
actually have this new PC on Saturday of last week, but within 24 hours of having it, the power supply unit broke, so I had to have it returned.
It was
In the space of that 24 hours, I bought, downloaded, and began playing the Guardians of the Galaxy video game that came out like last year, I want to say.
I think it was like towards the back end of last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing that, and I've been really enjoying it. Now that the PC's here again, I've actually re-downloaded it and started playing again. I really like the characters, so I was like, yeah, why not play some Guardians? That seems fun.
So Quinn, one thing we agree on in Guardians, I say completely, is Angela's a red herring in Guardians.
Like, I can see why you would include her, but equally, and this is sort of a spoiler for what my list has in it. I'd rather just have Space Loki. 'Cause he does all the same extra shenanigans, but I genuinely think that Space Loki is better at punching than Angela is.
Oh, it's a bold statement, people. It is a bold, bold statement.
What I'm going to say is that I am a god.
Well, Quinn, we're gonna go now. We're gonna leave you guys for the next 5-10 minutes in the capable hands of old Rich and Quinn from in fact, I should have said younger Rich and Quinn from a different timeline. So this, as you guys know, we run our weekly painting competition. We're a week behind because of reasons. So yeah, I'll hand you over to Rich and Quinn from last week when we weren't quite as well, and we'll see you guys back in a few minutes. Quinn, on to the next part of the show. Do you even paint, bro? Where we break down.
Not very often.
No, not very often. No. So the submissions or the spec that was laid out by Quinn this week or last week, usually chaos ensues, but we had a really simple, straightforward one, Quinn, didn't we? Which was just Moon Knight, in honor of the trailer that went up, which was a really cool trailer.
Don't worry. Next week, chaos will descend once more. Don't worry. I know all of the Quinn fans out there are waiting for it.
They are, yes, they are. So, Quinn, let's jump in and take a look. And as always, guys, everyone that submits an entry will get entered into our prize draw. But we can only pick out and go through so many every week. So we have 2 honourable mentions. And then obviously our winner. If you're the winner, you don't win anything. You just get put into our Hall of Fame. And you have the admiration of everybody else around you. So, Quinn, let's jump in and look at the first one. So, Quinn, first honourable mention goes to BF Trick, and I absolutely love this one because the effort they've put into the base actually makes the little chimney thing that he stood on make a lot more sense than what it did just being in the middle of the pavement.
It's sort of like, the lip of a rooftop, right? That's kind of what I imagine that thing to be, and like with it actually on a rooftop. Makes a lot more sense, yeah.
Yeah. Luckily for you, they don't use true line of sight in this game, so that's okay. It's just the base, so he's still only a size 2 on that. People in 40k and Age of Sigmar would have been loving you doubling the height of your Moon Knight, but yeah, BF Trick, super good paint job, and it's a really clean paint job on Moon Knight as well. But yeah, really liked that sort of, and it looks very English as well. Obviously, we know Moon Knight is English. It's set in England, is the comics and the new TV series and everything else. So it feels like it's in the middle of London.
Set in England?
Yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah, I believe so. Anyway, I might just be talking bullshit there.
I mean, you typically are, but anyway.
Second honourable mention goes to Not 47. I really like this.
It's got such a nice comic book style to it, right?
Yeah. Again, we've seen a couple like this before, but sort of modern comic book style. It's not the 2 colours with the black lining in between. It's sort of more, I want to use the word cell shaded. I'm not quite sure if it's right, but the little
I kind of get where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
The little blue accents there, that sort of make it look more like an icy white, just accentuating it, is really nice. The contrast on the cape is really good. I quite like the little rubble as well on the base.
Yeah, a little bit of rubble around the little building lip. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So well done, Not 47. You get an honourable mention. And Quinn, we've seen now a lot of paint jobs since we've set up the Discord and since we've started doing the weekly painting competition, which I'm hoping you guys are enjoying because we seem to be getting more and more entries every week. We've seen different versions of characters. We've seen alternative paint jobs, that sort of thing. And we've seen some really, really good use of contrasts and OSL and this kind of thing. This may be or at least one of the best painted miniatures from Marvel Crisis Protocol I've ever seen. I'm going to throw out there.
Very pretty.
I'm going to put the picture up before we go through the name, and it doesn't really do it justice just showing you one picture. He sent 3 pictures in. So it looks like it's set in autumn, right? Because we've got sort of the autumnal leaves on the bottom there. And you look at it from one angle and you just go, that looks really good. But then you look at the second picture and you see it from sideways on. And you realise that it is just the light coming up and hitting his body and his legs and his face.
All the neon signs of the city whilst he's like brooding up on a rooftop. Like, oh.
And then obviously you go to the back of him, and I imagine, the moon's behind him, and that sort of illuminating his cape and that sort of thing. And just wow. So Martin's kind of once again, buddy, just bravo, sir. What an absolutely phenomenal paint job. So
I want to know how many goats he sacrificed to be that good at painting.
All of them, I think. Wherever Martin lives, there are no more goats. Because
single-handedly wiped out the population.
Yeah, because he or whatever it is that he sacrifices to the moon god, because that, sir, is an absolute beautiful, beautiful paint job. So well done to you, sir. You are our winner of the week. Well, there we go, guys. I'm sure you will all agree that was a fantastic submission from Martin. A really, really nice looking Moon Knight. Quinn, I get to choose this week, don't I? Because you got to choose
this doesn't
last
seem
week.
fair. You got to choose last week.
Did I? No, you picked Moon Knight.
No. In the past.
Oh, okay. In the young Richard made a choice, but I'm getting to pick again now because people never did that one.
And now you're using it with the wisdom of your years.
Exactly, that's it. The weeks I have the knowledge I have accumulated in the last weeks. Quinn,
knowing you're more likely to have lost knowledge than gained it, but sure.
We just mentioned it, okay? We had, or the guys in the US just got their hands on Hulkbuster, Miss Marvel, all those kind of things. So, here we go, guys. I want to see your Kamala Khans, but single picture, and it has to be both of them stood side by side. So you need both the embiggened and the normal. The embiggened doesn't feel like a word, does it?
It's not a word. It's a made-up word.
Oh, okay. Is it a made-up
word?
Aren't all words made up? Is that? We didn't populate the earth and then go, oh, look, here's the book of pre-approved words. We can only use these ones. But yes, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, embiggened and normal version, single photo next to each other. Submit them into the Discord channel. There's a dedicated channel in there for it. So that will be the painting competition for this week. Actually, Quinn, I painted Kamala Khan. I wanted to try out some black lining and sort of comic book-esque style. And she was actually really nice to paint. She was really nice to paint, yeah.
I was actually looking at the little painting thing that I typically have set on my desk, and she was on there. I was like, I'm kind of bored. So I'll just paint Kamala Khan because she doesn't matter to me at all. So,
I don't even know who you are. Thanos doesn't even know who she is. I'm just saying.
Most people don't.
No, most people don't, do they? I think, Quinn, that's probably it for this week's episode. I don't think we've got anything else to cover off. What can you expect next week? Well, we're going to do something a little bit different next week. We're going to do a full I nearly said write up them, but I won't be writing anything. We'll be doing a full roundup of the event that we're attending this weekend. If for some obscure reason it's neither me or Quinn that wins the event, we'll see if we can get the winner of the event on the channel as well, go through their roster. Hopefully, we've asked people to submit their rosters, so hopefully, we'll get to pull out some stats for you guys as well.
Because I think it's very important to mention that Aaron isn't playing in his own event.
Aaron's not playing.
You don't have to be scared away from next week's episode if Aaron wins his own event, because he can't, because he's not playing it. You don't have to listen to Aaron. It's fine.
He'll still somehow manage to track 4 wins and no losses in his event. So whoever wins, we'll try and get it on. And what I will say is, this event is probably the most competitive that we're going to have had in the UK to date, in terms of the players that are going to be turning up. Some real seasoned players that have been invited along to go.
Since the last one, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it should be really good. The level of play should be really, really high, which in turn should mean that, the rosters and the stats that we can take out of them should be really, really good. So it's going to be really interesting, Quinn, with all of these new additions and things like that and changes as to, where the dust settles in terms of, the affiliation rankings, because I don't think we still know yet, do we? I think there's a lot of affiliations and combos and characters that people are sleeping on, and it's still going to take quite a few more events to really see what sort of rises to the top.
Errata thing, things have been shaken up massively, and like you said, I don't think we've quite, imagine it's like the surface of a lake. The errata was a massive boulder being dropped in it,
and it hasn't quite settled, has it?
Haven't quite, stilled on the lake surface.
Yeah, well, we had LVO last week. Obviously, me and Quinn weren't part of that, but I got to chat with Chewy earlier in the week, and he really, really enjoyed it. You can check his video out. Again, he's on the Discord, as are loads of other content creators as well. So LVO looked like it was really good. We'll try and get all the stats from the Web Warrior Invitational or the Illuminati Invitational this weekend. It'll be interesting to compare and contrast, and then also see what happens with the Season 7, I want to say, Quinn, of TTS, because that is coming up as well. I believe that starts next week.
Little bit after that, because I think the cut-off date is either the 12th or 14th.
That's it, the cut-off date, and then it'll be the week afterwards.
Is on the 14th or 16th.
That makes sense, yeah. So we're only a couple of weeks away from that. So again, that's always... it's always interesting to see, just because there's so many games, it's always interesting to see, which characters have been taken over others, so on and so forth. Be interesting. Whenever we can, we'll sort of try and round up all those stats for you guys and send them out there as well. Next week, we're also going to be doing the X-Force video, so the sister video to the A-Force one, and then hopefully on Sunday, me and Quinn will have our game as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I get X-Force, because we put some really, really nice rosters together for X-Force that I really want to try, Quinn. Really, really looking forward to it.
I play. I feel like I want to keep with my whole underdog thing of just playing the cheap roster.
Is that the one you're going for, is it?
Yeah, that I think that's just my thing now. I beat you with worse rosters.
There we go. Guys, if you have found this video entertaining, useful, funny in any way, shape or form, all I ask is that you leave a like on the video. It really, really does help out. Guys, if you do want to support the channel even further, we do have our Patreon up and running. And a big shout out to those guys who have already signed up and helped us and supported us on there. So to Benjamin Grosek, to John Carlson, to Daniel Evans and to Seng Su. Thank you so much for your support on there. It really, really does help. And Quinn, we're going to be starting, and I'll probably do a video with more details around this next week, but in the month of March, we're going to be starting our monthly crisis event. Now, the idea of this, Quinn, is you finish work, you come home from work, right? Or you've got the kids at home, or you just can't get to your local gaming store.
All things I relate to, yes.
All things that you can relate. That last one's maybe one that you can relate to, right? Where you can't get to your local gaming store. But you want some games, and what we're going to do is once a month, we're going to be running an event that spans the entire month, but it's just going to be 3 games. So 3 games in total. Now, if you are fortunate enough that you are drawn against somebody in your local area, you can play these games in person. If TTS makes more sense because you're playing somebody across the pond, you can play your games on TTS. So you can play them however you want. It'll all be recorded through Longshanks, but it will be a Patreon exclusive event. So head over to Patreon, you'll see which tier includes that. But off the back end of these events, for just turning up, for winning games, but then also from coming first, second, and third, you're going to be given some points, and those points you will be able to convert into prizes. So what prizes can you get? Well, right now at the moment, you'll be able to convert those prizes into the MCP inspired t-shirts that we've got on the merch store, and also a big shout out to the guys at Elysium War Games here in the UK, but also Discount Games over in the US who we've partnered with, so you can convert your points into vouchers for their stores as well. So you can play your games, you can win some vouchers, and you can then buy even more MCP characters. What a great way to spend your evenings during the winter months, Quinn. What a great way of doing it.
Pretty good.
So that'll be starting in March, so keep an eye out for that coming up. Guys, I mentioned the Discord. We've got the Discord channel. If you haven't already, get over there and join it. It's a really, really great community. We talk all things MCP, plus some other stuff as well. We also bounce ideas off for rosters. We have spoiler discussions around the MCU stuff, plus everything else that goes on in there as well. As I mentioned, we've got the merch store up and running, and we've also got the Facebook site as well that you can join. Links to everything will be down in the description below. But guys, as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
See ya.
Ooh, you went rock.